All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back from break even early. We love you that much that we were able to speed up the process and get you back to basics as quick as we could. Forecourt Jester hanging out with the Sham 2. And we were Enter the Storm Qualifier Cup number 5 as we're about to follow. Do your best into mouse control. Congratulations, guys. Make it to the quarters. Who's going to come out on top this time, though, Sham?
That's going to be a really good question. We saw Do Your Best playing before. They played so superbly. But do they have the mouse control to really take over their opponents?
Ooh, that Sham 2 level fun.
Oh, yeah. That's going to be the question here. And, we're starting to get on to that draft. We're on Sky Temple.
3 for 3, baby.
Again, 3 for 3. So Sky Temple, apparently a very favored map lately, going on over into the European Union metas. But I'm very, very curious to see how both these teams are going to be drafting. Already, we are starting to see a little bit of that trickle in.
So, I mean, they've already now kind of surprised us with Johanna. I'm curious to see what the next map will actually do to the meta. But right now, as you said, Sky Temple is the favored. And with the Viking ban, it's not a surprise. I mean, we saw the Vikings sneak through in our last match, and they did superb amounts of work because not only did they have the level advantage, they had, a just massive kill lead by the end of it all. And that really did sink home the win for Team's True Fancy. I can never remember that other team. What was that other team?
Team True Fancy versus was that Pushek? No, that was
it was Hyperion.
Hyperion, yeah.
But either way, not going to see him here. Banned out. Sylvanas is the counter mouse control, saying we saw what you did there. Sylvanas, absolutely a monster if you cannot take her out. So she's out of the game. That leaves us into a first pick, Illidan, my friend.
And that's a very, very interesting first pick just because of how that affects the rest of the draft. And I always have to say this every single time, but it is such a huge thing when you're dealing with Illidan. Both teams have to just kind of start tailoring the rest of their builds around playing with that hero. Very, very strong, able to jump in, able to jump out, and do a lot of good work, but he's very, very difficult to deal with and difficult to keep alive. So both these teams have to just kind of tailor their little builds around that.
Well, I mean, we did see an Illidan build attempted last round, but yeah, that wasn't actually the case by the end of it. He just could not do anything. So we'll have to see if Do Your Best, who I suspect will be able to properly support it here, will be a Rhaegar, will be, a Lily, actually goes really well here, will actually be a counter Brightwing and just try to deal with that, and a Flex, like the Tassadar, like the Tyrande. We'll have to see, because Mouse Control still have a second pick here to go with that Jaina.
Yeah, and, picking up that Jaina, she's just so good, especially just pushing or doing anything at all. Really, Jaina is just absolutely amazing at being able to just deal with your opponents. She doesn't have an escape, but she does have way too much damage. So they're going to try and mitigate a little bit of that using Illidan probably to jump in the back line and try and deal with her. But they have a Brightwing and a Vala as well to get some more little damage in there, as well as the Polymorph to try and help out, deal with whoever else is going to be coming out here from mouse control. Polymorph so good on that Brightwing. Going to be able to crowd control out some people, maybe either focus down that Jaina or disable her for a couple of seconds.
Well, I mean, as I said, it was either going to be the counter pick with the Brightwing if mouse control didn't pick it up, which they didn't. Or, I would have expected to see an Uther to go with that Illidan. But the Uther as the counter here, I mean, that's a great amount of control for that Illidan. At the same time, shields, we saw a massive amount of shields being done with Do Your Best in the last time they had the Uther. But, wow, to go with the Uther is going to be a Zeratul. So could this actually lead us into a Zagara Wombo? But no, it'll be a Tyrael right off there.
Yeah, Tyrael, very nice pickup here. We've been seeing Tyrael kind of slightly work his way back into the meta. Yeah, he was banned another game. So he's apparently starting to get a little bit more favorability. He's a very, very mobile warrior. He's slightly support heavy as well. His shield helps heal up everybody as well as keep them a little bit more alive. So he's a very interesting hero to pick up. And helps out a lot with teams. And then, as well as his judgment, is able to just section out one member of the enemy team and be able to just kind of focus them down very, very well, very, very quickly. So he's a great, great warrior to pick up. And I'm glad to see him come back in because, to be honest, Tyrael was always like one of my big favorites to see that I could play in this game.
Now, I know that you're a big Diablo fan, but it's interesting that you're praising out the Tyrael there as well, because he's not like the tankiest of tanks. But I still think, could this be, like, if they're going to go with the Tiro, they have to go with some kind of Wombo. Could this be a Falstead right here? I have to wonder.
They could possibly go for that. I'm not exactly sure, though, because... Well, they do have the Zeratul.
Yep.
Yeah, they could possibly go for some sort of Wombo with the Falstead.
Falstad, Zagara, they could easily go. We saw a Thrall last round, although, kind of... Oh, the Thrall actually did an immense amount of work, but the teams were a little unbalanced. I wouldn't expect to see another melee here, so that's why I'm kind of thinking ranged assassin. I don't think we're also going to go for a flex, because I'm not entirely too sure we have the damage with only the Jaina and that Zeratul. Depends if we see a Shadow Assault or not. But, to finish up, do your best. They did go with the Rhaegar by the end of it, so that's a huge double support comp for that Illidan. They're going to keep him really safe. Got to keep that Vala safe there as well in the back, and that's why they got an Anubarak. The Beetles for the body blocks, for the target soaking, the double stun available, and I highly suspect we're going to see a web wrap out of this one.
Oh, Jester.
I see it. I see it, man.
Forecourt. Do you see the 4 blood for bloods that already exist here? I actually think Tyrael's a pretty nice pickup, just because that's less they have to heal back up if there is a quad blood for blood coming out here.
Whoa. Zeratul doesn't get blood for blood.
I was talking about do your best. Sorry, because you
said
Rhaegar
and
Anubarak.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, I see 3 blood for bloods, but even as
we
I
got
said,
4 blood for bloods on do your best and Brightwing.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so they can polymorph somebody, web wrap somebody else, and then just 4 blood for blood, one of the last people. So they're sitting in a really good way to just kind of section off and destroy the enemy team pretty quickly at level 16. Getting there is going to be a little bit of a difficult spot. Anubarak, I'm curious to see how he's built. We've been seeing some very Beetle-centric builds, though.
Beetle juiced, man. Not going to see that. No. That'll be the blood for blood tier for sure.
Yeah.
But coming into this, I mean, Anubarak and Tyrael, this was something that we actually just played around with in solo queue the other day. If they both go, I'm even going to blank on this. The fire, the cloak of fire. Which...
Burning Rage?
Burning Rage. Thank you. I don't know why I blanked on that. That's how often I get to see that talent. If they go for the Burning Rage at 13, and you put a Tyrael and an Anubarak on the team, not only are they both, being able to jump into the fights, but now they also got the Blood for Bloods, and they got these Burning Rages, and that does, significant damage over time, especially in these big group AoE settings. Now that they're split on the either side, I'm curious to see if we will actually see some of those talents, or will they go, more typical spell shields, relentlesses, more defensive talents. I'm not entirely too sure which way either of these will still roll, but I'm still very much convinced we're going to see a web wrap.
Yeah, web wrap is probably the best talent I think out here for Anubarak right now. His heroic is it's just so good for being able to just take somebody out of the fight for a good amount of time. Especially if Tyrael goes right on in, you just web wrap him and then just kind of leave him back there, and then can deal with him a couple seconds later and focus on the rest of the team, or just take out the Uther, right? Because they only have 1 healer out here on mouse control. So web wrap is going to be a really good pickup here, I think, for the Anubarak. I don't think they're going to get a ton of use out of getting the Locust Swarm. However, what I'm really probably going to find on Tyrael, I think, is going to be at level 13. He's probably going to pick up that Imposing Will, which is like Imposing Presence, but every time he uses his shield and something attacks him, 50% slow on attack speed and move speed for 2 seconds. Great against Illidan.
It's great in general, like anybody. I mean, you put up that shield, and you're going to be spamming that shield regardless anyways. It just goes over so very well. And you get that 3 levels earlier than anybody else, because the Imposing Presence is, of course, level 16 talent. I do really like these, very specialized earlier versions of some of these generics. Like, you see the same kind of idea at level 7 with the Burning Rage equivalent for Uther. I mean, we see Searing Arrows at level 4 instead of 7 for Tyrande, that kind of thing. I do think it really does give a lot of flavor. Will we see it? It's very curious if we will, but as you say, 50% attack speed and movement, especially for the Illidan, and I'm going to go with the Anubarak there as well, because he's going to be up there down and dirty. That could be huge.
It's very, very possible that we're going to be seeing actually, I'm going to have to say, this is a pretty even composition between both these teams. The double support's going to be able to keep up that Illidan for just forever. And Team Mouse Control, they've got a really nice setup here with just how they've got everything else. The only worry that I have is that Nova Illidan, Anubarak, dive in on her, she's gone.
It's very possible that we do actually see that, but I'm curious to see how the double stealth will actually handle this. So, guys, let's do it. Let's get in the game. we're going once more into the Sky Temple, so hold on to the railings. You can keep your hands and legs inside at all times. Do your best and mouse control. We have covered do your best before. Very big teamwork, very solid team. But coming into this, mouse control has now finished out at least 3 rounds.
Yeah, they have. They've come quite a bit, actually. I'm kind of curious why they weren't seated a little bit higher, but you know.
Well, okay, they were actually the ones with the bye in there. So they played the same amount of games here as do your best, but mCon did take down Synergy, and not exactly a long game either. So let's see if they can do it. So it will be on your left-hand side on blue. Do your best. Bobek, as we were talking earlier, Celerat, Fabio, Starzerk, and Fiert once more here in blue.
Spawning over here on the right-hand side, it is our red team. Zinwin on Jaina, Praden on Uther, Griskel on the Nova, solid SMD hanging out here on Zeratul, and down in the bot lane, it is Filiberki on Tyrael, trying to kind of say that name out loud. And this is Team Mouse Control.
Absolutely. We're going to have to see how well they do hold up against this double support Illidan comp. But their early roam is really going to be dominated here by the Zeratul, by the Nova. It's up to them to make a lot of this early game happen, because this is where they're basically going to be able to shine. The Illidan is still very squishy early on, and he's down here with no support, by the way. We got Brightwing top, Rhaegar mid. So if we get a good engage from the Tyrael, we could delete any one of these 3.
Yeah, but it looks like they're just kind of roaming back and forth. They've got the double cloakies. They see that there's 2 people missing. Now they finally see Fabio and Fiert popping up here in the bot lane, and they're just going to be like, okay, well, you know what? We can't really do that much. Meanwhile, Skelerat, he's been completely fine with just kind of backing up here. Impaling Spines going down. Not actually going to hit too much, though. Griskel just barely missing all of that, and he's going to be able to get back out of there nice and quickly.
Dude, that I don't think I've actually seen the new skills for the mechanized Anubarak. That drill looks absolutely
right. How
sick.
Cool is that?
Absolutely sick. I don't recall a patch note about that, but still, really well done, Blizzard team. 2-2 going back and forth. The roams have not made anything happen too much as of it. Need that stun. We do get the stun and the bodies, and there goes the fight dog as the first blood. That is what we need to keep doing this early game from this stealth combo. And, you know, that kill came out very, very well timed, because that's going to lead us into a free uncontested temple.
Yeah, but they've got the top temple as well, and both these teams pretty paired in experience. A little bit of jumps coming down here as the towers start to go down, and just slowly Mouse Control is taking a little bit of that lead. Level 4 just about to be grabbed by them. And, you know, they've got full soak going on. Both these teams almost have full soak, except for Skelerat staying a little back, because there is that middle shrine that's right there, and he doesn't want to poke too far forward and get caught out when they rotate down.
He has no gate here as well, because it has just really been left to it. We do actually see the Farsight, though. It does catch out solid MD, so we go Healing Totem into Farsight. It's usually a toss-up, Farsight or the Feral Heart, but today it does look like Vision Control will be the aim of the game. And it's not a really bad way to go. Double stealth, you know, a really good Farsight, and you could win the game off of that.
Yeah, quite true. That's why you really want to make sure you got that Farsight. Feral Heart is really nice, especially on this map, because it's so large. You don't want to have to go back that much, but Farsight is just, well, now I see where all the cloakies are. Especially, you know, you can see that they're really tailoring their builds a little bit more around that type of scouting as well, because their Brightwing picked up Scouting Drone as well. It didn't pick up Bribe. So they're very scared of this roaming potential coming out of here from Mouse Control.
But if you can defeat it early, you're not really going to be feeding into it, which will give you at least a decent mid-game chance of coming back into it. And, you know, going back and forth, it is level 6 to almost level 6. It's about a quarter level between the 2 teams, and it's only been the 1 kill so far. And that's really the majority of the experience, because they missed out some mid-game soak a little. So either way, 7 will be coming in, and I don't think there's really going to be too much of a disparity for this next temple fight. I don't really see heroics in the picture quite yet. Oh, all right. Brightwing's going to get destroyed, Tom.
Yeah, that was a really nice read there. Vovik just barely started suspecting something was coming in here, started to back up, but it was just a little bit too late, as the rest of Mouse Control just kind of poured on in, was able to pick up that kill. Level 7 going to be an advantage for them, but not really much going to be grabbed by, you know, to really take huge advantage of this. There's another shrine coming up. They are going to be able to pick up these bruises really nice and quickly, though.
Yeah, and you see Nova just kind of taking care of the creep wave. Not the best choice to take care of a creep wave, but you know, her auto attacks are starting to hit like a truck. She did actually pick up the anti-armor shells, so 250 sitting there very nice. It does chunk them down, and there are the bruisers, and we should be having that temple spawning. Well, there it is. Any second now.
Well, so I think a really interesting thing here is that Fabio didn't actually go for beetle build at all. He went for the very standard kind of build that we always used to see from the Nubarek, which is a bed of barbs as well as Under King and a couple of other things to really just kind of slow down the advancement of the enemy team. Not really going for those beetles, doesn't really want to make this a huge pushing potential. Neither team has, you know, like any real way to kind of push super heavy though. Is I think a really interesting point here, especially because there's no Sylvanas, there's no Lost Vikings or anything. So both these teams just kind of go for team fight compositions, and I think it's a very smart decision. We've got a cleanse coming out here on the Uther to start and try and cleanse out, I guess, the Polymorph.
Polymorph stuns, totem, who knows? I mean, it could even be Rain of Vengeance coming out big, but we'll have to see because we don't have those 10s quite yet. But Filiberke going right in, looking for that kill on top of Fiart, and Fiart will actually be the takedown. Zinwin is now going to be the big target, but Celorat will survive just very, very quickly goes down. Solid SMD does actually talent out that spin to win for him. So the Brightwing now also going to be out of there, and Fabio is just going to get cornered as the bug he is. And there he goes.
Desperately trying to get the mana to get back out of there using his burrow charge, but was unable to do so. And really want to point out that mouse control emphasized such great control over their mouses in that fight. I mean, they just pointed at a target and just made it evaporate. Very slowly, we saw each of those heroes die from Team Do Your Best. It wasn't something like it was very spread out damage or anything. Very single point damage, and somebody went down, somebody went down, somebody went down. The rest of the team here from Do Your Best, though, was at full health. They just took down one person at a time, and that was perfect use of their composition. Because they used...
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, because they've got that Jaina, because they've got that Uther, the Nova, all these single point damage type heroes.
Right, and so this is really their big advantage because we just hit 10 now. This is where we're going to start to see Illidan starting to kind of, you know, power up with that metamorphosis. And we also got now that Web Blast. Remember, that fight did actually lead us into 10. We didn't use any of those heroics for the fight, but it did lead us into 10 for... sorry, mouse control. So this is where you're going to be starting to look for that comeback.
A little bit of an engagement here in the mid lane. Planetary Strike coming down here to try and disengage. We're going to get that Ancestral, and they're going to kind of back on up. Vovik, fine with defending. Top lane is going to come in as well, and it looks like there might be a little bit of an engagement for some strange reason. I saw a Planetary Strike go down, but the cooldown's not up.
Cooldown's up for me, so I'm going to go with that, but there goes the Zeratul and that Void Prison. Rhaegar just gets absolutely deleted. Star Zerg is now looking for that Zeratul, but he gets a Divine Shield, so he switches off to Zinwin. 1 and 2, they take out the Uther there as well. Now Filiberke is going to be in the midst of it all. Griska looking for that escape into the back, but Star Zerg is just parkouring around. We got stuns and control, and the only one dead here is actually that Rhaegar from Do Your Best. So as I said, now we have some of that strength. Now we can fight on that equal footing. Fabio looking for that pickup on top of Griskel, but basically just putting up a front, trying to keep these guys at bay as the fort is going to fall, and that will actually put us now in the experience lead for Do Your Best.
I can't believe Do Your Best has done this twice now on this map. Level 10, they're looking a little bit behind, and then all of a sudden the level 10 hits, they even it up perfectly back up to level 12. This is the second time they've done this. Filiberke going back in, looking to do a lot of damage on Fear. They're trying to section off and take out their weak points, but I don't think that's going to happen here. Fear gets the Ancestral, goes back in. Fabio now doing a lot of damage. It looks like Nova is going to get eliminated in the back line because of that Star Zerg. Zinwin now is going to go down as well. Star Zerg is doing so much work in the back line, and the thing is that mouse control is not dealing with him. They're trying to go for Fear, and because of that, they can just keep kiting. They can keep going back, and this is exactly what Star Zerg wants. He wants the rest of the attention to be on somebody else, and that's exactly what happened. It looks like he's going to pick up the Uther as well, and then Metamorphosis back out.
A little bit of a questionable use of meta, but hey, a kill is a kill, and it gets him out, and he can live to see another day. Everyone's not going to go back to the temple because, yeah, temples at spawn. You remember, ladies and gentlemen, and both of them are actually going to be turned over now here to Do Your Best. Vobik in the bottom, and the rest of them there in the mid. Cellarat back and, well, somewhat healthy, somewhat mana-y, but at the same time, 14 to 12, and now 8 kills to 7, and double siege coming down on top of both sets of gates on these keeps. It's looking like a really good, strong mid-game position here from Do Your Best.
Yeah, they've really taken some strong decision-making out of this, because look at this. As you were saying before, the double siege Giants grab, they picked up both the shrines. That was the perfect time to win an engagement. But here comes Philibert to go straight on Vobik. Vobik uses the blink heal to get on out for just half a second, but Starzark now going to be the target of all of Mouse Control's ire. Is he going to be able to get out of here is the question. There is a really nice planetary, but the Envenom is going to finish him off. The double Envenom, of course, coming out here from Mouse Control on the Jaina, on the Nova. And it looks like they now want to turn this into their chance to get a little bit of map control and take out this boss.
Yeah, it still has, like, you know, another 15 seconds even on that Metamorphosis. So he was basically, yeah, he was a big target and he had nowhere to go out of that one. But still, they took all the shots from the temple. So, I mean, kills secured. We cannot really contest this boss. I mean, Brightwing's going to be able to come into this one very, very quickly if they are going to look for it. And I suspect Fabio, he might still try to even just buy some time and tunnel onto the point, see if they can get it. They're not even going to give him the chance. Solid with that Void Prism. We still got someone onto it anyways. Here goes the rest of everyone on top of that point because it is the big contention point, but kills and kills and kills. They take down the entire team, and Mouse Control couldn't win that 5-on-4 despite the beautiful VP to start it off.
That was so amazing because that VP just barely, oh my god, they still have the Giants in bot lane. Because that VP just didn't get Skellerat. That was the thing. You get that Rhaegar sitting on there. He knew he had to cast Ancestral on himself, and that's the second life bar. So they start taking him down as quick as possible. They start doing as much damage as possible. But guess what? Skellerat was okay with that because he's got that Ancestral, gets back up. And Vomit coming back into the fight was just perfect. Web Wrap now going back down. It looks like they're going to end the game if they can. These guys trying to wheel away on the rest of the critters, and it looks like it's gonna tumble down the core.
Wow.
It's gonna go down. What a beautiful play at that boss.
Where's my wow gif? Where are you, Cattle Prod? Wow, wow, just absolutely stunning amount of play coming out right there from Do Your Best. And we saw this in their games before. They get any kind of advantage, they never let it go. And it wasn't their quickest to 10 because they were behind. They did lose at that fight, but as soon as 10 hit, it was just take off, baby. And they never came back.
Yeah, that was some really good play. And I mean, I have to say, Mouse Control,